Somebody's mama really thought she could open her mouth about Kentrell and nothing was going to come back through that phone. She was wrong. She was so wrong she had to sit there on her own stream, watching her own son ask her a question she couldn't answer without lying. And the part nobody's putting on the timeline right, this didn't start with him. He wasn't lurking. He wasn't trolling. He was minding his business until a stranger's mother decided his name belonged in a family argument that had zero to do with him. Then she found out. Real quick, before I get into the timeline, do me a favor. Tap that like, hit subscribe, hit the bell. We're about to walk through this thing piece by piece, and it gets nastier than the clip that's going around. You already know how we do it over here. Let's roll. Okay, so here's the setup, clean as I can make it. Karlissa Saffold, Blueface mom, jumps on a live stream, gets into it with her son, and somewhere in the middle of that back and forth, she reaches across the whole industry and grabs a name that had no business being in her mouth. She tells Blueface he ain't dumb like YoungBoy. Then she tries to soften the landing with a no offense, I love you in your mama tag. Too late. That clip was already crawling across every group chat in the country. The date's not the point. The math is. She said it. It got clipped. He saw it. Everything after that is just physics. Now watch how quick this pivots. Let's do the quotes first. No interpretation. Just what was said and by who. Karlissa, live on stream, to her own son. You're going to sit on here and act like you cheated on your SAT. When the real people who took SATs know you can't cheat on no SAT, because everybody got a different test. And then the tag, no offense, NBA YoungBoy. I love you and your mama. Okay, sure. That's the no offense that's followed by the most offensive part of the sentence. Classic move. We've all got that ant. Then YoungBoy responds. Direct, no filter, no PR polish. He drags Blueface, and then he reaches for the one card nobody thought he'd play. Hey, ask Nevaeh what they used to say under that feather on her face. Boy, that used to say Kentrell. Wild. For anyone who missed that layer, Chrisean Rock, Blueface baby mother, once had a face tattoo. Multiple, actually. There's been a whole documented saga of her covering up ink related to Blueface and layering new pieces over old ones. What YoungBoy just told the timeline is that one of those cover-ups was hiding his real name. Kentrell, under the feather. Nobody in that room denied it either. That's the part one keep coming back to. Karlissa tried to say she didn't know. Blueface pushed back on her in real time. You literally called me out about it before. And she blinked. That blink is the whole story. And then Karlissa, same stream, 20 minutes later, trying to walk it back. I didn't mean to say NBA YoungBoy. I meant to say NLE Choppa. Nah, come on. That's not a fix. That's just handing a second rapper the same insult on the way out the door. Real talk. If that's your save, don't save. Now let's connect it. Because the timing of Karlissa dropping his name isn't random. It only reads random if you don't watch her feed. She's been in and out of online scraps with people connected to her son's orbit for years. Chrisean, Blueface father, Jaden Alexis, whoever's got a mic and a comment section. This isn't a slip. This is a rhythm. A pattern of pulling bigger names into her frame to keep the traffic hot. And she picked the wrong week to pick him. Because YoungBoy, and this is the part the timeline is undercooking, was already hot. Already boiling. The clip everyone's laughing at didn't happen in a vacuum. Days before Karlissa opened her mouth, Kentrell had crashed out on Future. Random. Out of nowhere. Public. That's the wire. That's the tripwire she stepped on without knowing it was there. Actually, hold on, back up. Let me say that better. She might have known. That's the thing. Her clip drops right in the middle of a news cycle where every hip-hop feed is already framing YoungBoy as unstable, emotional, unpredictable. She reaches into that fire with a wet hand. Either she didn't check the temperature or she wanted the burn. Pick one. Either way, the deleted quiet then repost pattern on her end after the clip caught fire, that's not somebody caught off guard. That's somebody managing a reaction. Let's zoom in. One line. Not the dumb line. Everybody's chewing that one. The other one. The tag. I love you and your mama. That's the tell. Because in the same breath she calls him stupid, she also name-checks his mother, a woman who has nothing to do with anything happening on that stream. Shironda Golden isn't in the argument. She isn't in the industry. She isn't on the timeline. Bringing her up is a preemptive shield. See, I said something nice about her, but it also does the opposite of what it's supposed to do. It signals awareness. It signals I know exactly whose son I'm talking about right now. You don't drop that mama tag by accident. That's a "please don't come for me" line dressed up as affection. And it did not work. I had to read that transcript 3 times to catch it. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Second lens, the tattoo comeback. Because when YoungBoy went there, he wasn't just clapping back at Karlissa. He was reminding the whole timeline that the Blueface household's ink history is not a place they want to play. That feather on her face line does 2 things at once. It embarrasses Blueface for old business he can't undo, and it lets Karlissa know he's got receipts on her whole family, not just her. That's not an insult. That's a warning shot with an address on it. Third lens, the room. Watch the reactions in the clip. Blueface isn't jumping to defend his mom. His girl isn't either. There's a pause. Then Blueface actually turns to her and says, "He wasn't cussing me out. He was cussing you out." That's a son distancing himself from his mother's mess in real time. On camera. That reads louder than anything anybody said. Damn, the way the outlets ran with this is telling too. Some of them framed it as "YoungBoy goes off." Full stop. Villain edit. Isolate the reaction from the trigger. Chop the tape. Run the headline. Others framed it as Karlissa apologizes, which technically true, but that framing puts her in the humble seat, like this was a misunderstanding she cleared up. She didn't clear up anything. She got dragged, tried to redirect the insult to another artist, and only then soften her tone. Then there's the third camp, the one running with the offset angle. And that's the one that's actually doing the work here. Because if you skip that piece, you don't understand why YoungBoy cooled down. You just see a rapper screaming and then not screaming, and it looks like weather. The counter-argument, and I've seen it 100 times in the comments already, is she said sorry. Why can't he just move on? Let me Steelman that for a second. Yeah, she walked it back. Yeah, she said she meant Choppa. Yeah, she said she loves him. If you take her words at face value, she course-corrected within the same stream. Fair, but, and this is where I gotta push back, the apology only exists because he pulled up. If he'd said nothing, she'd have said nothing. That's not remorse. That's damage control. There's a difference, and y'all know the difference. Here's the read nobody's putting on paper. The mainstream story is rapper gets mad, mom apologizes, everybody moves on. The real story? This isn't about Karlissa at all. This is about a young man who has spent the last month visibly losing his patience with the internet, with Future, with random comment sections, with anybody dumb enough to say his name in the wrong tone, and somebody's mother walked into a fight she didn't scout. And what happened next is where it gets interesting, because Kentrell didn't stay in that rage. He got on live with Offset, and Offset, a man who has buried a brother, lived through a public marriage collapse, and eaten more industry shots than most people even survive, sat there on his daughter's birthday and told this man, "Don't let no shit get you out your body. We solid folks, we do what's right for our family." Kentrell heard it. Actually heard it, which is rare. He said, "I gotta stop that getting emotional shit. I really let some other shit, and that's what got me tripping. I've been doing great." You're right. That's not a PR statement. That's a man on FaceTime realizing he almost gave the algorithm another week of his life for free. And here's what I think Karlissa still hasn't clocked. She lost this exchange the moment YoungBoy called Offset instead of calling her back. Because now the story isn't YoungBoy went off on Blueface mom. The story is YoungBoy got mentored through a crash out by Amigo on live. That's a different narrative arc. That's a redemption headline. Hers is a footnote in his. She played herself into someone else's growth story. And that has to sting more than the tattoo comment did. You wanted the traffic. You got the traffic, but not the kind that pays. Watch what happens next. Karlissa's going to stay in the comments for another news cycle or two. She has to. That's her lane. That's how she eats. Expect one more clarification video. Expect a joke about the two of them being brothers. Expect at least one post where she pivots to Chrisean to change the subject. That's the muscle memory. That's the pattern. Blueface, man, Blueface is stuck. He can't defend his mom without making the tattoo thing louder. He can't disown her because that's still his mama. So he's going to do what he did on the stream. Sit quiet, correct her softly, and hope the timeline moves on. Which it will. It always does. But not before the clip of him telling her he was cussing you out, babe, becomes its own meme. Kentrell? Different trajectory entirely. Don't be surprised when the next YoungBoy drop leans into this exact energy. I flashed out and I got myself back together. Arc is a whole song, maybe a whole tape. He just gave himself a narrative for the next project. Watch for the hook. The bigger aftershock, 5 years out, is what this moment does to the crash-out era of hip-hop culture. We are living in a moment where the loudest artists are the ones performing their unraveling in real time. And somewhere in the middle of it, an OG pulled a young artist off the ledge on camera. That's a shift. That's the kind of moment people are going to point back to when the next generation talks about mental health and rap without making it a PSA. Karlissa gave us the trigger. Offset gave us the pivot. Kentrell gave us the receipt. And the internet, as usual, only remembers the trigger. We'll fix that. If you rocked with this breakdown, do the thing, like subscribe, hit the bell. Drop your take in the comments. Should he have said what he said about the tattoo? Or was that a bar too far? I want to read every single one. We got a lot more coming this week, and you don't want to miss what's next. Appreciate y'all for real.